So, are you ready for this? Are you ready to be
Eh,
tested? Did you bring your notes? No.
should I, do I need notes?
Yeah, I'm gonna test you.
Oh
Okay,
no.
on episode 3 of Corvid Kid, frame 157.
Oh God.
I'm
I
kidding.
was like
This is not what this is
unfunctioning.
about at
Yeah.
all.
I was functioning on no sleep when I made those episodes. I'm not gonna remember that.
No, could you imagine if that was the show and just started quizzing you on
Oh
like every random
fuck.
bit of your thing? That'd be
I think I'd
hilarious.
fail.
Yeah.
I think I would.
I mean, the audience would love it, but no, I don't
They
even
would.
have questions prepared. I'm just bullshitting.
Huh. So am I. And
Yeah.
I'm just guest star. Guest star.
Guest star. Every person's a
Yeah.
guest star in this show. That's all we're doing is guest stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That sounds like a JoJo thing. Guest star.
Yes. Guest star. Yeah, that could be. Like that's your stand. Your
Hmm?
stand is guest star.
Yeah.
The power
Oh,
to
I
be a
have my
different
notes just in
person
case.
in every single episode.
It's a stand that chooses its user.
Yeah. It changes its user. It's like you lose all will and consciousness, and eventually you're just in a different place. Like, what did I do last week? I wasn't even here.
I just remember to balance my phone. Ah,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
thank God.
Anyway, this is the first episode. We're calling this show
Yeah.
"Within the Underpass" because we're kind of like underground people. A lot of what we do is kind of like grungy
Yeah.
underground punk stuff, especially
Yeah.
over here on like Newgrounds and stuff. And when I think of like underground, the first thing that comes to my mind is me and my friends used to do this. We used to just like sit in kind of like the corner crevice of the underpass. You go underneath the bridge, and there's like that concrete slope that goes up, and it almost looks like there's a little place that you could sit up there. All up there
Excuse
was
me?
always a bunch of like graffiti and stuff on the inside under the
Mm.
bridge, and that's what I think. That's our hangout. We're going to be talking to creators of different sources about the different things that they're creating and what goes on in their head and lives. And you're the first person, so
Me.
congratulations.
I usually see homeless people under like the underpass of a highway. Just homeless people and with shopping carts. Or lots and
You,
lots of bags.
that
Plastic
happens a
bags.
lot too. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of graffiti there though. Actually, one of the underpasses in my town growing up, for the longest time, and we all got so sad when they finally covered it up. There
Yeah.
was these giant graffitied Super Saiyan Goku and Final Form Frieza, just their upper busts like facing each other,
Oh, that's
right? Like,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, it was amazing, well done art. I think it was there
Mm.
for almost a whole decade before the city finally just decided to paint over it.
No.
I know, so sad. But anyway, would you like to introduce yourself?
Mm. If I were to introduce myself, I would just say, don't listen to me. I'm stupid.
Well,
But follow my Newgrounds.
that's a pretty bad introduction, so I guess I'm gonna have to carry the load there. This is PhasmaGORE, the creator of Corvid Kid.
See? Don't listen to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't even want to introduce your child, your
Oh, I
your
should.
project.
My son.
Yeah, yeah. So that's
Yes.
what we're talking about today.
My boy.
So
Hmm.
before that, though, Phasma, you are a youngin.
Yeah,
You're
I
pretty
am.
dang young. I got
I'm pretty
your
small.
well, I mean, I don't think that's ever going to change, no matter how old you
No.
get. But your
Mm-mm.
Newgrounds up right now. It says you are 19 years old.
Yes.
That is a pretty ripe age to be creating stuff like that. You're gonna get a good start. Some people don't even start until they're
Yeah.
close to their 30s.
I'd like to start early.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I've been creating things for like ever. Like this is something I knew I've wanted to do since like 5th grade, which is like 7 to 10 years ago. I'm not good at counting.
Do you even know how old you were in the fifth grade?
Uh, 10? I
No,
think I was 10.
you would not be 10 in the fifth grade.
Really? I thought I was 10.
Well, actually, you could be, maybe. Depends how late your birthday is in the year. You could be 10.
May.
Yeah. See, that's possible.
It's possible.
You may have started 10. Most people are close to 11 when they're in the fifth grade.
Huh.
Yeah.
I thought I was 10. Or
And
at
if they
least I
have an early
remember
birthday,
being
some
10.
people are on their way to 12, but
Mm.
you could have been 10. Yeah.
I could have been.
Yeah, especially with the late, because that would be late for a school year. Since first, well, you got our school year so stupidly. It's like it starts in the summer, ends in the
Yeah,
spring. So you've got like this weird generation of people who aren't born in the same year as each other.
yeah. I don't like the school. I don't like school. It sucks.
Yeah. School shouldn't have to suck though. Like that's the problem.
Yeah,
School could be cool, and it
school
decided not
isn't
to be.
cool. Because I'm a very slow person, and school's very like very quantity over quality. It feels like I'm a very qualitative person.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, one of the problems is like so in elementary school it should definitely be quantity over quality because you're
Hmm.
starting people out. You're trying to get a lot
Oh,
of
Babs.
information fast to try to catch them up to thing. But like secondary school, that which is like junior high, high school, right, age 14 and up, you should already be on track for whatever you plan on doing. And that's not what we do in most schools. So they're just wasting your time.
Yeah, like they expect you to already know your entire life plan once you're like 7. It's
Yeah.
weird. I'm just lucky that I knew what I wanted to do, and I just did art.
I think that's most creative people is even if they don't end up getting to do what they're doing, you kind of just start because you're compelled to.
Mm. Never knew where it really stemmed from either. It was just always I had, and I know my dad has this too because he likes to do music. Like me and my dad are very much creative types.
Yeah, it typically runs in families.
Yeah.
Almost everyone in my family is more of the creative persuasion. Most of them are musicians. Not a lot of like
Huh.
all around artists. I have a lot of musicians in my family, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a commonality. Like I would expect you to probably get it from somewhere, though.
Hmm.
Occasionally, there is always like the first person in the family who's the creative one
Totally
because
my dad. And then it's weird because my mom is the exact opposite of my dad. She's a very textbook person, I would say.
mm,
Learns from the book by the book, but very fast learner.
well, that would be a good combination. Too bad it seems like you're not a very fast learner.
No, I didn't get that at all. I'm like my dad. I'm very slow to learn something, but when I do, it's like qualitative.
Yeah, just try not to forget this stuff. We're in so many voice calls these days. It's one of the reasons why I pegged you first out of everybody
Me.
was like, oh, you know what? The first episode, I want to do somebody I've been talking to a lot lately, and we met through the specifically the Newgrounds Summerfest first, but we've
Hell
been hanging
yeah.
around in like the festival servers and stuff, and you actually kind of got your start around that time because you started making Corvid Kid for the summer jams.
Hmm.
Little thing going on the Newgrounds summer jams, which is a weird thing to say summer jams because there's more than one. You think of like just a singular jam when a phrase like that comes to your head.
That's a good point. I never thought about that until just now.
You know.
It was like 5 rounds. And I even did Corvid Kid on a whim. I was planning on doing some fan-made shit. I don't even remember
Yeah.
anymore. It
Well,
was
I
such
think
a close
also
line.
there's almost like you have six things, 3 episodes, and then you have three little bits for the other jams that didn't really fit your whole episodic deal.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But you still somehow managed to work your Corvid Kid idea into all of them. And I know some of the judges were
Yeah.
genuinely impressed with the last one because you decided to make a Chinese ripoff parody of your own IP, which
Yeah,
came
it was
out
so
pretty
fun to
good.
make. I feel like even in that Chinese parody, I can still see some aspects where I improved in like coloring, animations, backgrounds. Um, it puts a big smile on my face thinking about like the
Yeah.
character writing and everything. God, it was so fun.
Well, the funny part is that, and hopefully this sticks through as you go forward, because I know
Hmm.
a lot of people are waiting for Forvid Kid, as some people are calling it, um, because it was the last thing you made in a series of jams. You had to learn a lot real quick, whether it was at your
Oh
pace
yeah.
or not. And because of that, the last one ended up being the best of it. And a lot of people are like, man, I like this one much better. Can you just stick to the pigeon girl thing? Which is a little
Oh my
insulting, but
god.
it's
Yeah.
also at the same time kind of a compliment that it shows how much you've learned in that short amount of time.
Yeah. I remember Brandy. Brandy was like, "Please, more pigeons," because he was also a voice for one of the characters. And I appreciate the enthusiasm, but it's funny. It's funny to me how much more, just a little more pigeon girl caught on. It's
Yeah.
really funny to me.
Especially with is it Pam doing the voice of the pigeon.
Yeah.
So good.
Ah, Pam, Pam, my beloved.
Yeah.
I
So
want
if
to
you
get her
want,
to do more voices.
oh, she needs to do more. She's very self conscious
Yes.
about that stuff too. I actually had to help her
I'm
with
just
that
glad.
because she's like,
Yeah.
oh, I do not know how to do voices. Would you get in call with me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, yes, I'll help direct you so you can get the voice done.
I remember because even told her I was like, "Hey, if you ever need any help or any feedback, tell me." But she still went to you.
It's because, she didn't want to sound bad in front of the director, right? So she's looking for
Oh, yeah.
advice before having to do that, so she at least sound good. And I could get it,
Hmm.
especially a lot of people haven't done any of this stuff before. A lot of people are just anxious. It's like, oh, I just want to do good. It's like, well, that's why you do this stuff to start out because you have to get good.
Hmm. That's what I did. I started
Yeah,
out. I look at the first episode of Corvid Kid, and I'm already embarrassed by it.
yeah, the
That's
whole stay
how much
awake.
I've already grew. It's like,
I actually
oh, why did I
really
do
like
that?
Stay Awake. Stay Awake. I think that was probably my favorite one so far. Is the first one, just because it's
Like,
got this very cohesive theme to it.
mm, I think I know what you mean. Like narratively.
Yeah,
Huh?
and for
Okay.
what you're doing, animation matters a lot. Sure, you want it to look good,
Oh
but
yes.
narrative is honestly the most important part of something that's episodic.
Even if it's really choppy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you got to start somewhere,
Yeah.
and a good narrative can actually carry I wouldn't even say bad, but like progressing art, something that's not
Kind of
quite
like
where it wants to
one
be yet.
or like ones. Most of ones like
Yeah.
written works are very fun to follow, but you look at the art and it's comedically so wobbly.
Yeah.
Like you'd think it was intentional.
But would you like to talk about Corvid Kid? Let the audience know about it. Maybe even talk about Samson and Atrum and stuff for a little bit. What goes through your mind when you're making this? What's the story about? Just the general stuff.
When it comes to like a one sentence summary of Corvid Kid, and I've had this for a while, the one sentence summary would be a kid who fights demons and his own demons. It's simple and I love it. That's my elevator pitch. Just it's a kid about it's about a kid who fights demons who threaten his family, and then he also has to do his own internal struggles, his inner conflicts. And I find that working on the inner conflicts is very interesting considering that Samson himself doesn't speak. I think it's really fun to show his emotions through very the word is slipping me, but through very like unconventional means.
Yeah.
Like, I have so much like there's so much I want to do and so much I've written on paper or in like at least in my creator's bible. I have so much ah there's a lot. I can't put it into words. But there's
Well, I would like it if you
so
could.
much
It's
work
kind of the
done.
point of an audio interview is for people to
Hmm.
hear it in words if possible.
Yeah, I'm gesturing a lot
Yeah.
and I'm so used to ah, I'm trying, man. Hmm.
Well, take your time, think about it,
Yeah,
formulate.
I'm trying to formulate it. I got a slow brain. I got a half brain.
The two brain cells.
One of them's for Corvid Kid, the other one's
Yeah,
for everything else.
yeah, you need to get more RAM or something like that.
I do. Hmm. Well, one thing I can talk about is the inception of the character, because I was sitting in chemistry class because the class was incredibly boring. No offense to that teacher, super nice, but
It's really hard to
ah,
make chemistry interesting unless you're like
yeah.
one of those teachers that are doing like demonstrations all the fucking time.
Oh yeah. So sitting, I was sketching away, and like I remember first came Atrum. Atrum was just like a little shadow creature whose arms were dismembered. I remember the arms being a prominent idea for that character. And then came the idea for Samson. And the more that class went on, the more I didn't want to leave because I felt like I had something going. I remember Samson started as a kid, but then evolved to being an adult, and I wanted it to be a game for some reason, even though I had no programming experience. Nobody I knew who had programming experience. Like, oh, I want to make Corvid Kid a game. And
Oh,
then
trust
I
me,
scrapped that completely.
that's how a lot of this always starts. A
Oh,
lot of like
yeah.
my ideas started out as like a little kid. It was like, ooh, you know what? This would be a fun game. I like playing Zelda. I like playing
Yeah.
Final Fantasy. I can make a game out of this. I have no idea what it takes to make a game. I'm just a writer slash
Yeah.
artist at the time. And like,
Oh my god, that was me. And I thought I had all these ideas and concepts, and then I just completely scrapped it once the jams came around. Big time jump, I know, but Samson evolved from child to an adult, and then for some reason went back to child again. It's, I mean, I'm working with it, but I don't know how that happened. It's a weird loop he
well,
went through.
especially for trying to keep Samson as silent for as long as possible, it's a lot easier to do that with the child than it would be for an adult. Because I do feel eventually when you do the time jump, you're going to run in circumstances where you are going to have Samson talk. Like it's almost unavoidable. But also by the time you start doing things with adult, you'll probably be able to find a fitting voice that you're satisfied with for the character.
That's gonna be such a journey, though.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't have an idea for what his voice sounds like.
Well, maybe you'll find it by then because you're going to have to
Maybe.
discover a lot about this character working on him. And especially with the background you're giving the character, it makes a lot of sense for him to be silent. Like,
Yeah,
just due to all the trauma that he's been through in his life,
poor
he
boy.
just wouldn't be talking to people. But by the time he becomes an adult, and we've talked about this a lot, I've been helping you a lot with world building.
Oh yeah.
He's probably going to be more active with talking to people, just be more open to it, and you'll have a lot of time to actually like listen to the character as you're working on it to figure out how the voice should sound when finding a proper voice for him.
Want it to be incredibly like I've had some ideas for like speaking roles, like or like when he should speak, but I want to like really avoid that him talking ever. I'm
Yeah.
really trying to avoid it, or just keep it to like noises.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think
I
the
really want it to
entirety
be
of
that
when
way.
he's a kid, you can get away with that. Like, I
Oh
don't think
yeah,
that'll be a problem whatsoever.
that and it's hard to find good child voice actors or just people who sound like kids. It's
Oh
like,
yeah, because you're gonna have to pick find a chick that
yeah,
can do like maybe a horse child voice or something like that. You know, like that's how every cartoon does it. Like, okay, we need to find a woman. Uh, let's get Tara Strong in here for some reason
oh, it's
because she
always Tara.
voices every fucking kid,
Fucking, oh my god.
and she only does like three voices.
Ah, that reminds me of this one kids TV show. It was called Wow Wow Wubsy. Weird name, but I remember the main character Wubsy was voiced by a woman, and when I found that out as a child, it shattered my worldview.
Oh yeah.
It's such a weird voice, and that same voice actor I think is doing Miss Chalice for the
Oh, that's
Cuphead
cool.
show.
Yeah, a lot of like
Weird.
the most prominent male like protagonists and stuff are usually
Yeah.
voiced by women, right? Like Ash Ketchum, voiced by a girl.
Oh yeah, it's
Naruto,
a big
voiced by a
one.
girl.
Oh, I didn't know about Naruto.
Oh yeah, yeah. Have you ever actually seen the actress?
No.
Because she's actually been in
Wait,
a
for
lot of
English?
stuff. For yeah, for the
English or
English. Well, I think Naruto is also possibly voiced by a woman in Japanese too, but the English
huh?
actress, the dub. And she's actually this really
Wow.
like short, kind of old now, chubby lady. She was like the principal on one of those Disney XD shows. I think it was called Lab Rats. But she was also in like Geico commercials and stuff like that. And looking at her, you would never think that's the voice of Naruto. But if you close your eyes and listen, you're like, oh shit, that's the voice of Naruto.
Oh my god, I am looking at a picture of her.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
But even like the Japanese voice for Goku is a woman. It's like it's just very common, and it's actually even adult Goku is the same person. They've kept the same actress since he was a kid,
Yeah.
and she does
This
like every
lady
member of
looks
his
like
family.
this lady looks like she would be a librarian. That's what she
She
looks like to me.
does, or like a principal
Oh
or
my
something like
god.
that. Like she
Yeah.
fits that role.
So jarring. I mean, that's the point of a voice actor.
Yeah.
You don't look like your voice.
Well, that's the funny thing is with your voice, you could probably pull off playing a young boy.
Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe.
if you just kind of like pulled it into the back of your throat, you could probably do it.
Ah,
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
Ah,
No, not that way.
I can't.
No, 'cause I know you have your tendency. So something you're also known for amongst like our communities and stuff is that you kind of go gremlin gore from time to time.
I got little gremlins. There's a gremlin piloting my brain, just
Yeah.
pulling levers and switches as we speak.
And you just kind of like break into like the gremlin just can't human from time to time, and it just starts and stuff like that, and you just start going off on people.
Yeah, I do. It scares people. At least some people.
I think most people just like either annoys them or confuses them more than
It's a
anything.
little bit of both, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in real life. Definitely pisses some people off. Tell you what.
And I think for some of us, actually, that'd be funny too. If
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about noises, you should just voice young Samson, but never do a voice. It's just like if he gets
Just
like,
noises?
pissed at somebody, he just makes like a gremlin noise at them. Kind of like you know
Oh
how like
my
a cat will
God.
hiss at someone. It's
Yeah, that's a good bit. I'm writing that down. I should make that a comic at some
yeah,
point.
he just makes in unintelligible gremlin noises, and then it's just like speak English.
Uh, if there's anything I want to include more in Corvid Kid's, definitely the dynamic between his sister and him.
Yeah.
Well, aside from like the biblical parable, or I think it's called a parable. Like, I love the idea of just having a sister and a brother as like the main duo, because I feel like that's not done enough or a lot.
Yeah.
Aside from like maybe twins, like that's the most
Well, I
I've ever
think the
seen it
word
go.
you're looking for is allegory.
Biblical allegory?
Yes, because
Okay.
a parable is a story that relates to the current situation, right? So it's almost
Oh,
like an analogy. Like the prodigal son is a parable because there's a lesson that can be learned from it.
gotcha.
An allegory is something that alludes to something else. Usually, in the case, it's religious.
All of my shit is allegorical, because
Yeah.
that's my reference material.
Or like
I'm
Aslan in Narnia is an allegory for God, right? Or Christ.
Oh
right?
yeah, Big Lion Man.
Yeah. So that's probably the term you're looking for there.
Allegory.
That was actually something I was getting onto you about because you're writing this really biblically allegorical story.
Yeah.
A lot of your themes are directly related to that. You've got demons, you've got angels, and I'm like, yes, but have you even read the Bible?
No, I haven't. Just a couple snippets here and there.
And to some degree, it's
'Cause-
actually cooler if you haven't,
Yeah.
right? Because you can be more creative without something tying you down. But also, as you get further into it, it's like, I think you probably need more inspiration. So I started getting you
Yeah.
on, not just like the Old Testament, but I started hooking you up on things that most people don't read, like the Book of Enoch.
Enoch, yeah, that one is super. I love it.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I love the creatures. A lot of interesting creatures in there that I'm pulling from,
Yeah,
as well as the
yeah.
Watchers. I like that as as a backstory for actual demons. That
Well,
to me
yeah,
is
because they really fit what you're going with.
interesting. Because I never liked this idea that angels are like infallible creatures. Like it's more interesting to me that these beings so close to God are just as human in a sense as we are. That is way more
Yeah.
interesting to me.
Well, I wouldn't say as human, but definitely as
Subjects in
willful and
uh,
flawed as we are, just in their own
yeah.
way. Um, but that I don't even think the Bible supports people that think that angels are infallible, right? Like
No.
one of the biggest enemies is supposed to be a fallen angel. It was like, well,
Oh yeah.
obviously he had to have a will to be able to, betray God in the first place. If they were infallible, that would have never happened.
Yeah, but God knows all. Everything just happens and he just knows about it. That's so weird to me.
Yeah,
He just knows everything. All that is and will be. So if
and
he
all
knew
that
that was gonna
could be.
happen, why did he let it happen?
Oh, the world is mysterious.
Hmm. Is
Also,
that just
that's
the
a
explanation for everything?
well. There's also, it depends on the belief system, right? Because those beliefs have changed a lot over many, many millennia. There's a point in time where the idea of what we consider the future was different back then, right? So the experience that you got of God then was as he was at the current moment in time.
Oh, okay.
But then, it evolves later that there are versions of God is at all times. So, like part of the contradictions come from things like belief systems evolving over time and having grandfather data that doesn't update to the new beliefs.
Like you gotta update God,
Yeah,
basically.
they didn't
Hmm.
that stuff's from a former patch that never got rewritten. It's just still there in the code, spaghetti code.
I want God's patch notes.
Yeah. That's basically what
Uh,
the Bible is. It's
yeah,
just
it
patch
kind of
notes on a
is.
religion.
It's patch notes on like morals,
Patch
ethics.
notes on how to live, how to get through life.
Patch notes on not being a dickhead. Some of them fail that
Yeah.
miserably.
Yeah, but
Ah,
let's actually talk about the story of Corvid Kid. Let's set up what people know so far and what you want them to know so far, between there. Because we've got this
mhm.
kid, Abe Sampson, who is, as far as we know, you've told us how he lost it. I don't know if you want people to know the incident on how he lost his arm, but he's missing an arm.
I like keeping it vague. I like keeping
Yeah.
it open. I remember
Okay.
talking with a couple other people. They said other people have said the mystery is what's the most alluring. If I give out all the secrets away, then it's like I already know that question answered. It's like mystery solved. It's done.
Oh
It's
yes,
like
for sure. It just depends on like how long away do you plan on revealing things. Like if it was
yeah,
something that was revealed next episode, there's almost no point in not talking about it. If it's something that's not going to be
yeah.
until like years down the road, then you want to keep that as like tight to your chest as possible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of lore and secrets to the world of Corvid Kid. Like I didn't realize how much work goes into a show until I've actually made one. Like, there's so much, like,
And these are
aside from even
shorts too.
animated, yeah, aside from just animation, there's so much that has to go into the world building that goes into a document that came from a thought. It's like, so it's a step-by-step process, and not a lot of people can appreciate it. Like, like the 5 to 10 minutes that I've animated completely, there is years and years worth of ideas and thoughts and concepts that went into Corvid Kid that will never see the light of day because I've
Yeah.
probably forgotten it or it's hidden
Or
away in a sketchbook somewhere.
or you
There's
lost
so
the sticky
much.
note.
Oh no! Don't remind me about this lost sticky notes. I've already lost a few and
Oh,
I'm
I just imagine
cataloging
like,
them.
have you ever seen that episode of Ed, Ed and Eddie where they go to Double D's house and his parents just have like sticky notes on everything telling him the chores he needs
Oh,
to
I
do?
think I remember.
That's what I just imagine your room looks like that.
It's actually my desk. My desk right now
Just your
already has
desk.
like 5 sticky notes on like
Yeah.
the corner. And there's one hidden under a book, so that's actually
Like,
6.
I don't know, in my head I'm just seeing like you wake up in the morning and you like pull your blanket off and there's like sticky notes on the
It's
inside of your
just
blanket.
sticky notes!
Just everywhere sticky notes.
And there's like a perfect outline of like no sticky notes that just where I sleep.
Yeah. In like this very awkward position. It's the one position you sleep in. Like one arm's like tucked behind your head, the other arm is like sticking off the bed, and there's like this trail of no sticky notes leading off the bed and stuff like.
I'm picturing like an Egyptian pose, like the
Yeah,
90
yeah.
degree angle arms. Ugh. Ugh.
There's just a trail of no sticky notes on the path you used to get to the door.
Oh no, my walls look like they're pink, but if you look closer, it's just a bunch of sticky notes
Yeah.
layered on top of each other.
It's in that
Ah,
scene
then I
of
would never
like
remove my
Bruce
posters.
Almighty where he's trying to find a way to organize all the prayers coming in, and one of the
Oh my
flips
god.
is just sticky notes everywhere.
Uh, it's a good thing I have the big creator's Bible too, because like, ah, there's so much shit I forget. There's so many sticky notes I lose. I end up throwing the wrong ones away. God, I need better organization.
Yeah,
But
organization
I'm
is
somehow
key.
pulling through. I'm pulling through just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you're learning, right? That was
Yeah,
another reason why I wanted to talk to you first, is because
me.
you are one of the, what did I say, earliest creators in your path compared to a bunch of other people that I've contacted. You only really just started on the serious portion of this within this
Yeah.
last year.
One thing I also noticed from I think the word is contemporaries, or like just basically the other people I talk to who also want to make stuff. I think Annie Sloth put it best. People have an idea of what they want, but they really want to meet that standard that they set for themselves, and then they end up not working on it
Oh
because they
yeah.
want it to be perfect.
Yeah, and
And
I've been trying to
I
crack this down to
that's
people too,
scary.
because people don't understand this. It's kind of like you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And they will, if you don't actually start on something, you'll never get to that point where
Yeah.
you'll be able to do what you imagine you'll do. And I'm not going to name anybody, but I was talking to
Hmm.
somebody not too long ago within this, like the last few months, who wants to get into comics. And I was telling that person that you might have a good idea right now, and you might be trying to work up to that good idea, but I think you should just do the good idea,
Yeah.
because you lack the capability to know what your best idea is going to be right now. Like, by working on things, you'll come up with even better ideas, and you'll have thought this is a really good idea, but it will look like weak sauce compared to what you'll do
Yeah.
later on if you just keep working on stuff.
Yeah, it's scary to me because once I had that pointed out to me by Annie Slots, like
Yeah.
I think it was Annie University. Once he pointed that out, I see that in every five people I've talked to, or like
Yeah.
one, not even one out of every five. It's five out of every six people. I'm like the sixth person. I just went straight to it. I'm like the only person who somehow didn't fall into that category. That probably because I'm stupid or just really hasty.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because
I
you
don't know
know
what it is.
there's a very fine line between bravery and stupidity.
Oh yeah, I tread that pretty closely, I
That's the
think.
line. You need to tread that line if you're going to be a
I do.
creator, because if you don't tread that line, you end up never getting anything done.
Oh my, yeah.
Because
Ah,
I've
that's a good
actually
way of
gotten
putting
to
it.
I've gotten to an argument with a professional comic creator, like an actual illustrator, who
Yeah.
art wise he's leagues above me, but we talk, and he has a respect for my work because I've gotten like 6 total books out so far. So it's like I do way more than creators that more than me. Like I'm punching above my weight class in that way, and my stuff is still passable art wise. But then he'll talk, he's like, oh yeah, that person's not ready. That person's not ready. They're just not ready. And he's constantly saying this. I'm like, well, if they don't actually start doing this, they'll never be ready, right? And I don't know if maybe they need to start on a web comic or something. But if you keep saying people they're just not ready, they're too many years too early, then they're never going to get anywhere. So you need to start
Never
giving
gonna
more
get started.
you need to give more what's it called, positive
Leeway? Ah,
critiques or advice and stuff, where it's like, well, maybe they're not ready to make a graphic novel, but they should do some shorts or something. Like, if people don't get started on something, they'll never will be ready.
yeah. That's why I'm always egging on the people I know. It's like I'm always telling them, make a creator's Bible. What's your idea? Tell me more about your characters.
Oh,
What's your
I don't even think they
concept?
should make a creator's Bible yet. That is way down the line. What I think they should do is
Really?
they should make a short product of some
Ah,
sort, right? Like, you can
huh.
make a Looney Tune type thing just to start off, something that's got bare bone plot, characters you haven't developed yet, and just make something. Because once you have a product out, because some people don't even know what characters they need to flesh out, right? Like some people
Yeah.
have like 100 characters sitting there, and they're like, I don't know what to do with any of them. And that's because they've got too many ideas. If they just make like a quick little short, whether it's a comic, whether it's an animation, whatever, characters they barely know, pick any 5 random ones. They don't even have to be whatever relation they originally wanted them to be, and just start slapping together something. After they make that little short, it'll start bringing some focus like, oh, okay, so these are now the characters I can flesh out, or I didn't really like what I did with this character, I can replace them. Like you start getting a million ideas a second once you actually start doing something.
Oh yeah, that
And if the thing you
totally
start,
happened with me.
yeah, and if the thing you just start doing is working on world building in the background, then all you're ever going to do is world build.
That makes more sense because that's
Yeah.
unintentionally what I did. I just made episode 1. Well, it was more like 1, 2, and 3, and then somewhere along those like lines, then the Bible happened.
Mm.
That, yeah, I would say I would 100% agree with that because it totally opened the floodgates for my brain to go nuts, and now I can't sleep at night ever because I'm just too busy having ideas. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
plot line, more plot lines, character concepts. It's like a mile a minute with my brain, and then when I actually need to put it on paper, I'm like half asleep because I didn't get sleep. It's a
Yeah, but at
vicious
least you know,
cycle.
like you're writing scripts, right? You're
Yeah,
making
they're
comics,
fun.
so you're actually doing something with these ideas.
Yeah,
The problem with people who start by world building only and not ever doing anything with it is that they stick to world building because they've already become comfortable with that, and they never actually do the thing that the world building is built for. And I like even a lot of the people you're talking about, because I know a lot of these people too. A lot of
yeah.
them do have some world building in their back pocket, and they haven't done anything with it yet.
It's such a shame because
Yeah,
the things they have look interesting, they sound interesting, and I want to see it in action. I want more.
yeah,
What little I know of it.
and that's why like I would explain just from my own experience because I come from more of a novel writing background. I wrote the first draft of a novel I've been working on for a while that I'm actually been putting out chapters of it because I'm just tired of it sitting there. But I wrote the first draft of that back in middle school, and I've been working on that since. And I was just tired of not having things out, so I started writing more novelized stuff, and I just put them up on the internet like pulp magazines used to do chapter by chapter. You just got to do stuff, right? And that's why you've got these episodes here.
Yeah.
And you didn't even let it constrain you, right? Like
No, not
even
at
on
all.
the jams where you couldn't do an episode of your story, you still managed to do something because you've got like your dancing thing.
Oh, that
Yeah,
one
it
was
shows
fun.
6, but then I noticed one of them is literally just the bigger collab for the never-ending dance jams. You really only have 5.
Uh,
Yeah.
a lot of my notifications, funny enough, come from the big collaboration one. It's just a bunch of people commenting weird shit that I don't understand. Because I get excited, I'm like, oh look, somebody commented on my art piece, I'll maybe get feedback. Nope, it's the Summer Jam one. Fuck.
Well, until like you personally get bigger, but the more
Yeah.
big collabs you do, the more likely that's where all of your notifications are going to
Oh
come
yeah.
from, and that is for most people too. Unless you're like some really huge person that puts out like a big animation once a month or even like once a week.
That is so that's
Yeah.
both amazing to hear as a newly fledged animator and terrifying. Because
Well, I mean,
I can't work like that.
yeah, well, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I should be optimistic though. Like thinking about it, right? Even just these
Yeah.
like collabs, it gets you out to more people.
That is true. Because now that I think about it, I don't know. Sometimes I'll just get random new followers when I don't do anything.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, that's probably where they come from.
Probably, yeah.
Because lots of people like to just follow the entire list, and that animation collab was big. There's a lot of people in that list. But that's probably where they come from when I don't do much.
Probably, yeah. Like I remember I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, Kyo, too, and she was like,
Yeah.
these random people keep following me. It's like, well, I mean, you were in a big collab and you did help on some jams, so even if you're not doing much, people still see your name on these projects.
Mm-hmm. That's totally it. People who are very generous with their follows.
Yeah. Well,
Now that I think about it, I just remembered something, or not remembered, but I just realized something somewhat poetic. Like, I don't remember when, but when I found out, or when I first played The Binding of Isaac, I really grew to the character of Samson. Playing that character was fun. So like in this weird roundabout way, when I drew inspiration from that character and then uploaded my own like my own creation of Newgrounds, it's a weird cycle that fed into itself.
Oh
My
yeah, yeah.
ideas inadvertently came from Newgrounds and then ended up back there.
Yeah. Oh, and
Funny.
also, before we get too distracted, I was explaining the bare bone plots, and then we got into a tangent.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah,
oh, we
Samson
did.
is a young boy who obviously has to be some type of accident. Don't have to say what kind, but that's kind of the only
Mysterious
way
one.
you lose an arm is some incident happens. He's missing an arm. Traumatic experience, and he finds himself attached to a demon, which we also don't know why yet. He's attached to this demon named Atrum, this shadow that follows him and helps him out. And he is being confronted for yet another mysterious reason that we'll eventually find out by other demons and spirits of the like, in which Atrum has to help protect him from it. If I'm correct, that's basically the bare bone plots of what everybody should know of Corvid Kid now if they were to watch your channel.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's a good rundown. It's better than I can because all I can give is like. Because when it comes to thinking about the plot, I think about everything at once. It's not even a gradual process. It's just faucet on or faucet off.
And you're thinking about things that people like. Oh, but what do I know that people don't know yet? Because I'm thinking
Yeah, so
way
I
too
gotta
much about.
I gotta keep my mouth shut. I gotta be very careful about what I say because there's so much in the vault. There's so much up here that I'm thinking about and that I want to
Yeah.
talk about, but I can't because it's not. It either hasn't. It doesn't exist yet. Or it isn't relevant yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's probably a good thing that I rewatched the 3 full episodes of it before this, so I knew what was available, what wasn't. Because you have the Stay
Stay
Awake,
awake,
which is kind of the insomnia thing.
and
Then you
then
have the
it
player
came.
start for the player 2.
Yeah,
And then you also have the one where he gets sucked into
the video game
what was it? Blood Moon video game, I think was
Blood
the name of
Moon.
it. Yeah.
That one is my favorite one so far because I like a lot of the visuals and Stan's voice acting.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's all really
Stan
good.
does good villain voices.
Stan does good voices,
He
period. But
does.
yeah.
I would just say like giving him a role where he has to like shout are usually pretty good because he can put passion into it without being like weird. Not weird, but like you can put passion into a scream without it being forced,
Yeah.
which is what I love and exactly what I wanted from that role. Like I wanted this creature who was desperate and hungry, and it was imposing. He nailed it. And I
Yeah, he does
think
a great job. I should have. Oh, he was
I
here
think I want to
earlier
go more
today. I
role
should
play.
have asked him to just shout something quick into the microphone to record it.
Oh my god, yes.
But I
Just have
didn't.
him yell chaos.
Oh, I should have.
Chaos.
So the game's coming out soon too.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. But yeah,
yeah.
no, he did a great job. And it's voices by Corey is the one who normally does a Troom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Perfect.
you've got a great cast so far.
Yeah. I found that when I first casted Voice of Bakori, I didn't know what to expect. When I was casting people for the first episode, I didn't know what I wanted. I just got really lucky that
And
I
really
think he might have.
excited to work on your
Yeah.
shit.
I think even he messaged me first, I think. And he was like, "Hey, if you want," he was like, "Hey, heads up, I'm available for voice acting." I'm like, "Cool, you got the role." It was something like that. And so I even sent him a sketch because like there was no episodes, there was no drawings that I had up at the time. And so I'm like, "Here's the demon. I'm looking for something that's menacing,
Mm,
and if you can, maybe like some effects." And he's like, "Yo, I got you." It was
yeah.
perfect. I unintentionally struck gold with that one.
Yeah, well, as
And with
anybody that's a small voice actor will tell you,
yeah,
and it doesn't surprise me that he messaged you first, you kind of have to fight for every single gig you get, even no matter how
oh
small. Like, you have to be the
yeah,
first one to claim it. Most people don't come to you. You have to go to them if you're a voice actor. And even somebody who's been in as many things as Corey's been in lately, and I know Stan's the same, it's just like, oh yeah, 90% of jobs, I'm the one asking for it.
oh yeah. I totally get the hustle. And I want to also give roles to people who don't voice act because I feel like there are some people I know who have good voices, they have good character, and they want to do voice acting, but they never know. They don't know how to market themselves just yet. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
I
I'm
need to
still
get you
waiting
on.
for you to cast me as one of the
Yeah,
characters in there.
I have an idea. Don't worry. Don't worry. I think you might like it.
Oh, I probably will. I'll play
Yeah.
almost anything. I don't really care. I just like getting
I
into
want you
it.
to play this 5-year-old tiny child.
Oh, I could do it. You think I can't?
She's a girl.
I'll find a way. I'll work on it. I'll work on my I'll work on my Dot Warner impression from
Oh
Animaniacs
god.
for like a month straight, and then I'll raise the pitch of it as I go into it. Not even digitally. Like I'll manually with my throat raise the pitch of it, and I'll
I
get
thought you
you
were
like
gonna
a
just
5-year-old girl.
helium.
Or maybe I'll do Mindy from Animaniacs too.
Oh, I
'Cause-
thought you for a second I thought you said Mandy, and I
no,
thought that would have
Mindy.
worked from
Like
Billy and Mandy.
Buttons and Mindy, the little bye bye lady, I love you. You know that
That
little
one I
the
don't know.
girl. Oh, you don't know? Have you
I
ever
don't know
seen the
Mindy.
original Animaniacs?
No, I only seen like clips every now and then.
Yeah, yeah. So Animaniacs was originally kind of like a sketch show in a way,
Yeah.
right? Trying to recapture that Merry Melodies Looney Tunes thing. So the main show had the Warners running around the lot doing their thing, and in between their little bits, there would be classic cartoon-like things, and one of them was Buttons and Mindy. Buttons was like a dog similar to Lassie who had to look out for Mindy, who was this little like toddler girl that would wander off and get into trouble, and Buttons would be the one who gets in trouble for everything, even after saving the baby's life at the end, would still get punished by the mom and
Ugh.
stuff because the mom doesn't know what happened. She just sees that like Mindy's in Buttons' mouth and not inside her tree jumper or whatever, you know, like
Yeah.
is a very, very classic bit. It was actually the reason why I didn't watch the new Animaniacs, is because it was literally just the Warners and Pinky and the Brain. I'm like, where are all the good side bits? That was the best part of the whole fucking show. Like, I don't care if it's only the Warners. I want like Slappy the Squirrel. I want Minerva
So
Mink.
happy.
I want Katie Kaboom. I want Buttons and Mindy. I want Good Feathers. Mr. Mime, like Good Idea, Bad Idea. Like, oh god, there's so many. This Mr. Skelly Bones show, or it was a Skelly Head. It was Mr. Skelly Head show. There's all kinds of like these little bits in it. I wish they had them back.
I'll put them in Corvid Kid. That would be alive again. Bring them
Oh,
back.
I don't think they'd fit Corvid Kid. That'd be funny.
I don't
If you
think
just had like
so.
this big rooster in the background pretending to be a person, and no, but
Uh,
only like one person understands that it's a rooster and has to try to convince the rest of the
it's all
town.
in
It's like
Samson's head.
this isn't a rooster. Or this isn't a person. It's a rooster. He's just wearing glasses.
Yeah. Ah, that's a weird
Yeah.
idea. Fucking rubber hose looking asses and kid.
No, you should do just like a whole rubber hose episode.
Yeah.
Corvid Kid. It probably, well,
That sounds
I'm not
interesting.
gonna say it would be easy to animate. It'd be easy to
No.
color and shade.
Black and white.
Yeah.
Easy.
Even if you did
Oh, but
color,
not
because
very
there's color rubber hose, but like
Mm.
usually with that, like for most of the shading is only ever on background stuff, and it's like light painted shading. Everything else is just like flats. That part would be easy. It's the snap and the squish and all that stuff that would be very complicated because you have to basically rubber hose animation is complicated storyboards because you have to plan out all of your gags visually before you go into animate it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think way more visually because I feel like I'm still too script heavy.
Mm.
I gotta show, not tell. But I mean, that's only the most important thing about visual mediums. I need to
What you should
get
do,
better at that.
since you're used to script, is
Yeah.
you should do an outline, just a base outline. Then you should go in and storyboard your outline and then add a script on top of the storyboard.
Okay. I've never tried that.
Yeah, because the outline, you have in your head exactly how things should go down, like the order of events. And then once you have your visual storyboard, because now you're being forced to think visually, then you can put your dialogue and all of that on top of your storyboard.
Okay, okay. I'm just scribbling it down real quick.
More sticky notes to get lost.
Oh, yeah. And it doesn't help that this pencil's super light, so it's already faded. If I smear this, it's gone.
Oh, another one for the pile.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this has important shit on it already.
So,
and there we
go. From another perspective, more of like an emotive one. What do you want to get across with Corvid Kid and your projects? Like, what do you want to invoke in people? Yeah.
The first one the first emotion that I always want to invoke in people is inspiration, because inspiration is not something tangible, but when you can give it to somebody, I think it's the most rewarding feeling in the world. And I think that's why I like seeing other people draw Samson, because I like to think my work inspires people, it moves people, it pushes them to be creative.
Yeah, but that's a pretty weak motivation, to be honest, right? Because let's be real, almost anything can inspire anybody if they are captivated.
That's true.
To captivate people, like, what are you trying to evoke to make them want to be inspired by your thing? Like, what kind of like gesture or feeling or motivation are you actually trying to get across to people?
I wouldn't say I want people to feel bad, but I want people to just like understand like pain. I want to convey agony to people. Like,
You
I
want
don't
to
want
relate
Samson to be like a whoopee. I think that's what the
like
term is, whoopee.
yeah, you want to relate like serious human emotion to people. Yeah.
I want like Samson is somebody who goes through a lot of shit, because I want people to understand this is shit that happens to real people.
Yeah.
Like, Samson's struggles are very much tangible in the real world. That's exactly what I want to convey to people.
So in a
Like,
way, you
suffering.
kind of have this sort of optimism, right? Like
Yeah.
you look at the suffering and the negativity of life, and by showing it through the events, if the character can still pull through optimistically, then people might be able to as well.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's
Yeah.
like, look at the shit Samson goes through. If he can do it, so can you. And he's like 12. He's already got a lot of shit to do.
Yeah, so that could relate heavily to your initial feeling of inspiration. Because again, like inspiration comes from anywhere, but motivation, optimism is a very important emotion to try to instill in people. Because especially in these days, everybody's depressed. Everybody's a negative Nancy.
Everyone's a cynic.
Everyone's a pessimist. They just think like, oof, that's not a sin.
Well, at my church, they're like, may you be delivered from cowardice, apathy, and evil. Or no, cowardice. Is it? No, cynicism was in there too.
Yeah, well, see, cynicism, I think there's a big misunderstanding of what cynicism actually is, but there's probably roots of misdoing or a sinful nature in there. Because at the core, cynicism is really just looking at the world from face value, nothing more. The problem with that is almost an apathetic way of looking at the world. But it's also a very tangible way. It's a material way of looking at the world, right? It's it can come with a lot of negative outlets, but because of that, it's often not very optimistic. Though there are optimistic forms of cynicism, and it also depends: are you a lowercase c cynic or a capital C?
Capital C?
Yeah, well, because cynicism is a philosophical family. If you're a capital C cynic.
Okay, let me write that down, because now I need to look into that.
Yeah, that's Diogenes, the dog, as they called him. He was a Greek philosopher. That's where cynicism comes from. And he would often walk around the streets naked living
God.
with the dogs, and he lived out his philosophy. He was a very material, down to earth person who believed that dogs were the most valuable members of society.
You know, a philosopher's a good one when you have naked in his descriptor.
Oh yeah, yeah. He lived in a. Well, sometimes they refer to it as a barrel. Sometimes they refer to it as a vase, like a big jar, outside, big enough that he could like actually sit inside of it.
Ugh.
And amongst the dogs, he would share like people would give him chickens for being a philosopher, and he would like share his food
Huh.
with the
Give it to
dogs.
the dogs. Can
Alexander
dogs
the
get happy?
Great met him once, and he asked if he could do anything for the wonderful Diogenes, and
Diogenes.
he's like, "Yes, you can get out of my son."
Wasn't
As he,
he? Wait, was Diogenes the same guy who was like, "What is a man?" The other guy
no, no, no.
replied,
Yeah, well, yeah, he's the one
"Apparently
that
stupid."
replied to the other guy. Yeah, so it was Plato, right? And
Plato.
Plato told one of the people in the audience during one of his lectures that a man was a featherless bipedal animal, right? So Diogenes plucked a chicken and said, "Behold, Plato's man." He was always
That's
shitting on Plato
awesome.
because Plato's is like very
Serious?
abstract
Wow.
thinker, right? He thinks there's like perfect forms of things in the sky. So every time he says something stupid, because he would think too abstractly about things and not like what the real tangible nature of something is, right? What's a man? Well, he's got like his abstract image of a man, but it boils down too easily. So Diogenes has to put him in place. He's like, no, that's stupid. You're stupid.
You're stupid.
Which I tend
God.
to agree with him after reading The Republic. Plato is pretty stupid.
I just, like, in my brain, I just assume anybody who calls themselves a philosopher is stupid. At least in the modern age. It's just my automatic go-to. Oh, you're. Okay, I don't know if I can say retarded,
You know,
but.
most of them don't know like jack shit about philosophy.
Yeah. It's just like they always come off as really pretentious.
Yeah, I've met people with philosophy degrees that don't know jack shit about philosophy.
Yeah, like a bubble bass kind of dude.
Yeah.
When I think philosopher in the modern age, I think bubble bass. Like that's my mental image.
When I think bubble bass, I think of SpongeBob.
I think I know what you're talking
The
about too.
anime. Yeah, I love that SpongeBob anime. The bubble bass arc. The best fucking thing. There needs to be more of that. We need, you know what? We need a Corvid Kid to get enough episodes that somebody wants to make like an anime interpretation of it.
Yeah. Also, I've heard kid. It's like always their first joke whenever I
Yeah,
not pitch the idea, but whenever when I say, "Oh, I work on this thing," it's like, "Hey, COVID."
yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
it's like,
Well, it's just because COVID is like, even if somebody's not making a joke, like that kind of like almost
yeah,
Freudian
it just
slip,
slips.
it's something that's in our vocabulary so much these days that Corvid and
Yeah.
COVID are so close to each other that you just say it by accident sometimes.
Oh yeah. The worst part is I've had the name Corvid Kid like way, way before
Well, of course, because
the virus was
it's the
even thing.
family of crows, Corvidae.
Yeah. So when the COVID thing first started, I'm like, oh no, I hope this doesn't stick around too long. And then here we are, like fucking 2 years later.
2 years later,
Ugh,
some people it's never going to go away. The rest of the
it's
world, we've
never
kind
gonna
of just
go
gotten
away.
over it already. As soon as a potential world war breaks out, everybody forgets about freaking COVID.
Oh, they will. Goddamn.
Except for a select few people that are just going to be masked up for eternity.
Oh God, I didn't even think about that. There's totally gonna be people who wear a mask to their grave.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
no, I didn't
it'd be
even think
funny. I mean,
about
if they
that.
want to be buried in their mask, I'm all for it. That's their personal right, man.
Can you be cremated in your mask?
Well, I mean, you could, but the mask is just going to burn up. Most just like paper or whatever. It's fabric. It'll burn
Put
before
a
your
put a
bones
mask.
disintegrate for sure.
Put a mask on their urn. That's what they
Yeah.
want.
Just a big one hugging their gravestone.
Yeah. Oh my God. Speaking of gravestones, I was at a cemetery 2 days ago, And so I was looking at him and I was like, oh, hey, this person's born this year. Like, hey, this person was alive or like died on my birthday or something. And I found one grave that like had a quote on it. And you know it's good when a grave has a quote.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so some dude pictured with his wife. And I think he was part of some company that also makes headstones. Funny enough, he probably had a custom headstone from his own company. And at the very bottom, and I still don't know what this means, but the quote read, I told her I was sick. It's so good.
Oh,
And
it's
it's got
almost
a
like an
picture
I
of him
told
and
you
his wife
so.
on it. Yeah. That's what I thought, but then I'm
Yeah,
like,
like she
is
didn't
that...
believe it. That's what I'm thinking. It's like
Yeah.
she didn't believe it. It's like I told her I was sick.
It's so good. Yeah, and like I showed it to my dad, and then my dad kept like couldn't stop laughing at it, so he showed it to everyone that was there. It was so funny. My
Yeah.
dad was so highly amused by this gravestone.
I want mine to read, "Don't
Uh,
threaten me with a good time."
That's a good one. I want mine to just read, yo, watch this.
Yo, watch this. Famous last words. Hold my beer.
Exactly. Oh, hold my beer is also a good one.
Yeah.
Hold my beer.
No, yours should just say, "Don't fuck up Corvid Kid."
Oh my god. That's all. I'm writing that.
Yeah, yeah.
If I ever have like a, or I get buried, and like, or like there's just a gravestone scene in Corvid Kid, it's totally gonna be that. Don't fuck up Corvid Kid.
Because it's the first thing. As soon as the author dies, they don't have like any. Well, I mean, even if they have kids, sometimes the kids fuck it up by just selling it right. But if they don't have like really close family to take care of like the IP, it just gets fucked
Oh,
immediately.
yeah. That's why I'm always, I never thought of like selling my idea to a network. Then it's like, I lose the right to my baby.
Yeah, yeah. Or if you wait
Ugh.
long enough, if you don't, like 70 years after your death, you lose right to it anyway because
Ugh.
but then it's public domain. So even if they try to do something with it, some dude on whatever version of the internet
Forum.
is at that point in time could just make their own and probably do more justice than the fucking network did.
That'd be cool. Yeah. I would not be opposed to somebody like, not redoing the series, but like retelling the series somehow, in some way. That would be cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Well,
totally
that's,
an innovation. 30 years from now. Go.
that's
Do it.
been our hour. So thank you for coming on and talking. I know an hour goes
That's so
by faster
brief.
than you think. Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
But if you guys are listening to the end of this, links will have been in the description. Obviously, this is only going up on Newgrounds, at least for the time being. Maybe someday in the far future, it'll be re-archived somewhere else. Who knows? But you can follow PhasmaGORE
Me.
very easily. The name is basically spelled exactly as it sounds. PhasmaGore. PhasmaGORE.
Me.
Watch your stuff.
Watch my
Follow.
stuff.
Just please follow. And
Boycott,
you'll also
boycott the
you'll see yours
episodes that
too
don't have
because
me in it.
it'll be added to the project or whatever whenever this goes
Yeah.
live. So you'll also be on the sidebar there.
Yeah. I
And
get to be in a sidebar.
have a few people scheduled. I have no idea who's going to be next by the time you listen to this because these are
Me
all
again.
no, not you again.
Me and a mustache.
Because the first like 5 or 6 episodes of this are all going to be pre-recorded. So you'll find out
Yeah.
who's next, and I'll see you then.
I'm excited. Alright, I'll see you.